Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sebastian Tavo. I'm the token guy from Silicon Valley. I guess you need one for every conference. I'm French, as it was mentioned, and I was told I could not do my presentation in French. I did verify with Laura and Raphael, the translator, so thank you for the translation being done live. How's your French? How's your French? No, okay. So I'll stick to English then. But that's a sign of inclusiveness. By the way, it's very important to have this type of translation on stage. So what I want to talk about today is not about me, but how the thinking process happened in tech company in Silicon Valley. And hopefully I will disrupt your mind. Not the way you're doing things, but how you think about things. The idea of the presentation came actually when we were having a little discussion with Georgia in France. In all the places, the very tough place of Cannes on the French Riviera, and we're talking about technology. And what happened to be a 30 minutes conversation ended up being 5 hours of discussion that was very engaging, very passionate. And he told me at this little event in Brazil, and I should come and talk. What I really like about our conversation is his take on technology was no different than the take on technology of everyone who thinks outside the box. And that was how I realized that we didn't know any better in Silicon Valley. We just think faster. So here's what I'm going to try to show you today. It's open everything. And I have an angle on banking and fintech because that's my background, but I'm going to cover many topics. So bear with me. What's been happening in the US, at least, is a lot of the incumbents have been trying to be relevant. You have old school going new school. To do that, you can create confusion. By creating confusion, you use a lot of buzzwords. You can use open innovation, open technology, open infrastructure, open API. You have about everything you can open. What I want to be clear here is open is not free. Anyone knows about Linux? In the early days of Linux, everyone was saying it's like a bar. You can enter in the bar for free, but you have to pay for the drinks. So when you see open, just remember that is not free. But collaboration is important. Transparency is important. Why? Because transparency allows trust, and trust is really the cornerstone of anything that is open. So back in 2012, I came up with the rule of the 4 I's, which actually became really like the rules of the 5, and then maybe the 6. I'll let you judge for that one, but it's just for you to understand how we need to very clearly define words. So somewhere in a lab, there is a mad scientist that's just thinking, and he's got an inspirational moment. That inspiration becomes an idea. That idea is how do you make it into an invention? Invention is really the prerogative of the academic world or research labs that are set up just for that. So you have Xerox PARCs in California, you had the Stanford Research Institute. That invention comes sometime from the most remote corner of the world. You don't know where it's going to be. It doesn't have to be Silicon Valley. Then you have innovation. Innovation is someone or a company that take an invention that was outside of their industry and bring it into their industry to solve a problem. The best example I can come up with was back in 2007. February 2007, Motorola and another telecom company come up with a research study that says that never ever a user will use a touchscreen on a mobile device. July 2007, Apple released a little product called the iPhone, and history was made. Now, where the innovation came from? Well, 2 guys from Apple, 2 engineers from Apple that actually didn't read that report from the telecom company were sitting in Paris, France again, pay attention, at the train station. And they were watching people going to the kiosk to pick up their train ticket. And when given the choice between interacting with a metallic cold keyboard and a touchscreen with a lot of colors, everyone from 7-year-old to 77-year-old were touching the screen. And that was their aha moment. When driven with a choice, people will go for the touchscreen, and they created a product for that. That was the innovation. They look at something outside of their industry, and they brought it back inside their industry. Then you have integration. Integration is when you take something from your industry that's been done before and either you make it better or you make it work for your problem. That's integration. And then lastly, you have imitation. I won't spend a lot of time on that. That's mostly things that you don't want to see. I know that imitation is flattery, but that doesn't bring you anything. So now that we have set the rules of the 4 eyes, 5, 6, maybe there will be a 7 soon, we're going to talk about innovation and integration. At the end of the day, just originate, don't imitate. So open innovation brings major change to our world today. I think we all agree on that. This is Tesla S, one of the most beautiful electric cars that revolutionized the world. Well, technically it's kind of an integration because it took the best of technology from previous Toyota and they just make it look very cool. Then you have the blockchain. I think we all talk about blockchain. We all know what it is. It was a great presentation this morning. And then you have digital identity, which is really like the next frontier in the digital world is how do you prove someone is who they are or maybe they are not human. How do you do that? However, we need to understand actually how innovation was generated. This is the first electrical car, 1914. Do you think Tesla is still very innovative now? Maybe they're just very good integrator. This is the seal of the Knight Templars. The Knight Templars invented the first anonymous payment network, disbursement international with no border in the 13th century. Keep that in mind. Is blockchain very forward thinking now? I'm not sure. And this is the most protected unknown person in the world. No one knows her true identity. This is Mona Lisa, or maybe it's Leonardo da Vinci, or maybe it's someone else. No one knows. But if we look at our history and how we are creating things today, we always need to remember someone probably did it before us. So being an innovator is important, but I realize after all the years in technology, more than 30, only the last 10 years I've been actually doing what I knew was, I thought that was innovation, but it was actually just pure integration. I'm an integrator, not an innovator. So let's go back. So on the internet, no one knows you're a dog. That was a 1993 drawing in the New Yorker. That's where we're coming from. That was around digital identity, proving who you are. How do you manage that? And blockchain is trying to solve that problem. This is where we are today. On the internet, no one knows you're a fridge pretending to be a dog, right? That's been actually, someone mentioned the fridge this morning making decision for you. Well, you want the news? Actually, my fridge made decision for me. He bought some filters without telling me, talking to Alexa in my back, and I received this filter every month, and I had to go and cancel it. So the fridge was pretending to be me via Alexa to Amazon to order things. This is a real life scenario. It took me 3 months to figure out why I keep receiving like filters from my fridge. So I would call that like user error. I did set that up that way, but this is the reality of today. And if you look at it, that's the progress we made in the past 20 years. That's not much, right? So where are we going tomorrow? Or maybe today? So on the internet tomorrow, no one knows your Russian hacked fridge pretending to be a Swedish bot, pretending to be a Fox News dog. Everyone follow? Or did I lost anyone in the audience? Right. So it was a presentation. This slide were shared with me on stage with Dave Birch, and we started talking a bit more about it, and we realized actually that with open everything, you are exposing yourself potentially for that scenario, which is when we started looking back as how do we establish trust? How do we go back around trusting the person, the device, the system, the infrastructure? But this is where we are going if we are not careful. So now keep that in mind. This is how people think in Silicon Valley and other places and trying to figure out what is next. How do we prevent that? Are we exposed to something we don't control? I really like the video at the beginning, but it was scary. You know, you have like this robot human that looks like human and behave, but they are missing part of their skulls. That was scary, but this is going to be reality. So now there was discussion in France where we was talking about like, okay, but what is the biggest thing that happened in the US late 2017, early 2018? And we all go to conferences, we all talk about the same thing. So I'm going to ask you, do you think like the ICO was the biggest thing that happened or is happening this year? Yeah, no. Do you think OpenAPI, and I did OpenAPI for MasterCard 2 years ago, is the big thing that's happening? Maybe, but just little part of the story. Do you think Hyperledger, distributed ledger, sovereign federated identity, blockchain is the big innovation that's going to happen this year, already happened this year? I don't know if the translation is going fast or everyone's just like stunned. Well, no, that is important. People are talking about that, but that is not the thing that happened as a major innovation last year. Was that whatever this guy is saying on stage today? No, not this guy, sorry, he's ugly. This one. This is Dave Birch, by the way. Dave Birch is one of the BBC breakfast correspondents on technology. He's one of the top 10 influencers in the world of fintech in Europe. And he's a very well-published author. He wrote a book, Identity is the New Money. That was the one actually that kind of set up a lot of the problem I was explaining earlier. Then he wrote another book that is actually a bestseller on Amazon, and if you want to buy it, you should go. It's called Before Babylon and Beyond Bitcoin. And it explains everything about how we are looking at open technology and open infrastructure and blockchain the wrong way. We are trying to solve a problem that we don't have while we are ignoring the problem that we will have. Everyone follows? So all of that are very relevant topics to talk in the world of technology. But they are not what changed something like in the banking industry or the fintech industry last year in the US. This is what changed everything in the US last year. I'm pretty sure no one has heard about Zelle. So Zelle is actually a network, a real-time payment network, person to person, and by real-time I mean real-time. You get your money as I press the button send. It was created by 7 of the largest banks in the US. You have Bank of America, Chase, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, US Bank, PNC, and BB&T. The beauty of it is they set up this company I work for called Early Warning. That is a neutral entity, but all the banks are collaborating together to create that. How was that innovative? It was not really innovation, actually. It was pure integration. What they did is they look at what are the basic fundamentals things that they could provide and what people wanted to do with money. No one wakes up in the morning and says, ooh, I'm going to do a payment. This is so exciting. My day is going to be very great. No, everyone wants to get over with the payment as fast as possible or not even have to deal with it. This is the beauty of Uber. This is the beauty of some of the applications where actually you don't ever touch the payment after you set it up. You never see it, you're done. You don't handle money, it's all over. What people want to do with everything, by the way, they want it to be fast, safe, and easy. That's human nature. Same thing with money, same thing with cars, everything. So the bank, for the first time, I think in a long time, look back and say, okay, we're going to design something that we are good at, that's going to bring value to the banks, but also is going to simplify the life of the user. So the important part here was we just want to move money, and that's how money should move. What they did when they launched, actually the product was launched in September 2017, but starting to be very visible in January of this year, which is why it was 2018. When you look at something that moved 247 million transactions in few months, $75 billion in volume, and that's the part that makes me very nervous as chief technologist, is I have to onboard 100,000 users every day. The scale issue is very, very important and stressful for me. But that change was done not by being the most innovative, but by just integrating things that the bank were already doing, and some banks were good at, some other banks were not. But by collaborating together, they really released what is called the fifth network in the US. These are all the banks today. We started with 7, remember, that was back summer 2017, we had 7 banks. Now we have more than 100 US banks and credit unions. How is that important? Having like Banrisul being a bank, is today we can address 97% of the banking world in the US, 97%. And everything relies on one simple element, trust. The bank trusts us by doing the right thing. How does that create something that actually is of value? Is like, this is a US example, but what we've seen this morning, I don't know if you were at the demo, but when that money was sent in real time using blockchain behind the scene, this means that Brazil is leapfrogging the US because Zelle, even if we are looking at blockchain and doing integration, we have not released it yet. So what happened this morning was very important because in my mind, I was just like, hey, I'm the Silicon Valley guy, I'm gonna bring like some very cool technology, Zelle, blah, blah, blah. And I'm realizing like, oh, wait a minute, like Brazil just leapfrogged what we were doing. So keep that in mind. We are not always right in Silicon Valley, or we are not always the fastest. Sometimes we just think too much. So these are the partners. When I was saying that you have to integrate, you have to be a good integrator, not the best innovator, that is why we worked with companies that may have been deemed as competitors, but we also went and worked with companies that were good at what they were doing in technology. So we have IBM as a sponsor here. They are one of the 4 cornerstones of our technology partner. Without that collaboration and working with all of the banks and the network, Visa and MasterCard, this would not have happened. The 7 banks together would not have been able to release that network, that product. And I'm not going to like go too long, by the way, I know I have like a long time, but this is what you need to take from my talk. This is very important. If you want to succeed, and that's what I was going to say, I am not an innovator, I'm an integrator. It took me like 30 years to realize that. For the past 10 years, I've been releasing products that generate a lot of money. And all of these products are not an invention or a great innovation. It's just integrating things and making them work together so they really solve a problem. So just be the best integrator you can be, and guess what? You can make money out of it. And just remember to like, it can be done anywhere in the world. We saw that this morning. Don't be focused purely on what comes out of Silicon Valley. We are not always right. We live in a bubble. We are very, very self-centered. And sometimes we miss a lot of cue coming from the rest of the world, which is why it's important to go outside the bubble and see what's done. The 6 I's, which I am I, and I know the translator are not going to like that one. Laura, Raphael, please forgive me. It can be done anywhere, at any time in the cycle, development cycle of a company or a product. Don't look at it just as product. It can be a company. So if you're a startup, you're doing a pivot, you're a mid-sized company, you have to like reinvent yourself. Just remember the 6 I's can be done at any time. And then to be polite, the legal team told me I could just say like get stuff done. GSD, that's what we use in the US. That is important. What happened yesterday when Georgie Fund was announced to finance like fintech company, this is like Banrisul taking a step, getting things done to really like start up some changes that needs to happen. This is not Silicon Valley, guys. This is right here. And that is important. Like just don't be shy, do things and follow what these guys are doing. That's very important. I was very impressed by a few of the announcements and the demo I've seen today and yesterday. So that's kind of my talk about idea. I hope I didn't bum you too much, but this is something that I wanted to share with you just to show like this is how people think sometime in Silicon Valley, and we are so focused on what we are doing that sometimes we lose sight of where we are in the process or what is the history of innovation. We always try to say, oh, we're going to build the future, when actually we are just making the past better in the present. And that is my talk, and you can reach out to me via any of these mediums there. Thank you very much.